Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to do a video on some of the items I've got at home that cost little money to run or are ideas for staying warm in the winter, either because of the cost of living crisis or because of power outages. I'm going to start first of all with some heating elements. This is a drop it, why don't you? This is a basic heating pad. It's a 100 watt system, and as you can see, it plugs in. It runs for up to 90 minutes. Has 3 heat settings and plugs into the mains electric. So that's item number 1. It might give you ideas. Item number 2, as you can see from the cat hairs on it, the cats love this. This is again an electric blanket. And it's a 150 watt run. Again, you can set the heat setting from high to low, and you can either set it to run all night or cut out after a certain time. That one is an over blanket, which I find is much more versatile because you can carry it from one room to the other, whereas if you get an electric under blanket, you put it on the bottom of the bed and it tends to stay there, so it's not quite so movable. Obviously, if you have both, you're going to get heat from top and bottom if it gets very, very cold. Now this is a neck warmer, and again, just trying to see where it is. It's 100 watt at the bottom there. Don't know if you can see that. To run. Same thing. Controller. God, I'm dropsy today. 3 settings. And again, I think it's a 90-minute automatic run time on this. And again, a plug-in. Now, if for any reason I lose power, I can use a power bank, and I can plug in this little thing. It's not very big. I actually got it for my bad ankle, which was injured in an accident many years ago. Now I'm not sure what the running wattage is on this. It's not very high, but it provides just that little bit of warmth. It has got more than one setting. And like I said, it runs off a power bank, so if the power went out completely, I have at least got some sort of additional heat source that I can use. Okay, going old school on heating options. Hot water bottles. This is the smaller one. Now obviously the thing is with hot water bottles, they do contain very hot water, but you generally get to know if they're getting towards the end of their shelf life, and You can wrap them up in blankets and things, so they're not contacting your skin directly. But like I say, you can get smaller ones, and you can get standard size ones, and I believe now you can get long ones as well, but I've not got any. So again, if you actually have absolutely no power at all, but have access to a way of heating up some water, say on a camping stove, these could really make your little cosy spot even more cosy. Okay, on to clothing. As you may have already heard from other people, layers is the key. Plenty of layers helps keep you warm. So, this is a waistcoat type of clothing, so you can, I wear this inside and outside. As you can see, it's another one the cats happen to love. It's very warm fleece. If you don't have thermal underwear, then good substitute is something that's thin, like these. As you can see, it doesn't take up much room. Something that's thin material and will substitute, and long sleeved t-shirts as well will help. They're not quite as effective as thermal underwear, but they will help provide a layer. So a set of leggings or a set of thin sweatpants, trousers, sweat trousers, will help enormously. Then we come to hoodies. Hoodies are great because you've got a hat. Now, a lot of people will recommend wearing beanies. Now, unfortunately, I can't wear beanies. They just fall off my head for some reason. The wrong shape of my head. So I much prefer hoodies with their own hat, well, hood, obviously, and they help keep you warm. Again, I come back to my fingerless gloves. You can still do fine work, and they do help keep your fingers warm. Now, along with fingerless gloves, making sure you've got a good pair of socks. These are woolen socks. Now, not everyone can wear wool. I have to be careful on the type of wool I wear, but fortunately for me, these particular socks are okay. So I can wear these without any problems. But if you... Oh, sorry, I'm fighting the cat here. So if you want good quality socks, warm socks, outdoor pursuits, camping socks, that sort of thing, are generally pretty good, and you can get them reasonable price online. And last but not least, something like a neck gaiter will help keep you warm. And a good scarf. Now, this is more of a shawl than a scarf, but I wear it as a scarf because it's wide, as you can see, and so it actually really makes a good seal between my clothes and my head, but it's not too bulky, This particular one is not too bulky, it's comfortable to wear, and I can actually even wear it in bed without it being uncomfortable. So those are the sort of clothes I would recommend, apart from, you saw, I did a video on this the other day, apart from these camping ponchos, which are basically like an ordinary poncho, but they're made out of this material that is used for quite a number of sleeping bags. So if I was in the house, this would be my final overcoat layer. It's nice and big, so you get a good air pocket, and it also has a hood on it, so between the hoodie and this I get double layers on my head, and again, it's something that wasn't around really until fairly recently. I hadn't seen anything about these until 2-3 years ago maybe. I started seeing them being offered for sale. They're not the cheapest item out there, but actually they do a very good job. So if you can afford it, I would recommend it because it will pay for itself. So after showing you that camping poncho, the next thing I'd like to show is a sleeping bag. Now, things like extra sleeping bags, extra blankets are a must. They really will help you make a nice cosy spot if the weather turns absolutely dreadful and you lose power, or you can't afford to put your heating on any higher. Now, if you think, well, I can't afford a sleeping bag or blankets, you will quite often find them in charity shops. There might be a run on them this year, so I'm not sure how often you will find them in comparison to previous years, but you will sometimes find them in charity shops for relatively cheap prices, so it might be worth looking in charity shops, or even on something like Freecycle, which is the UK offer. People offer things for free on there. So, and you can also, well, you used to be able to, I haven't used it for a while, but you used to be able to ask for certain items as well. So if money is really tight, you could perhaps put an advert out on something like Freecycle and say, help, has anyone got any spare sleeping bags? So the beauty about sleeping bags is you can zip them up and stick your feet in them, and even and if it's a free sleeping bag, you're not so worried about keeping your feet in your slippers, which means that you're going to help keep your feet warmer, and obviously because you're enclosing your feet, you're going to help keep the warmth in. Now you could also unzip them and use them like a second duvet on beds, or if you're lying on the sofa. So there's a multitude of uses for sleeping bags, and like I said, if you're very lucky, you will be able to get them for free or at very little cost. I know that the two that I use, I got for free. They were part of, I went many years ago, I went and purchased a tent, and there were 2 free sleeping bags as part of the purchase price. So that's how I ended up with mine, and I've used them for this exact purpose of keeping my feet warm, taking them to, I took one to a football match on more than one occasion when we used to take my great aunt to watch the local team, and she, save her getting too cold, we would basically zip her up in the sleeping bag and she would stay nice and toasty and enjoy the game. So like I said, charity shops or Freecycle can be your friend there. Now on that, using that as a an idea for other things that you could get. So we've already mentioned blankets, but you could also get curtains at charity shops. Now curtains, if you can get long ones, you would hang a curtain on the inside of your outside doors to help keep out drafts, help keep out the cold. You might even find something like draft excluders. Now, if you can't find draft excluders for free or very little money, you can actually use towels. Now, as you can see, this is an old towel, but what you would do, this is one I keep for my cats, but what you would do is you would run it out the desired width. I'm just going to use this as an example, so in order to show you. Then you just roll it up. Dum-dum-dum. Roll it up, sew it down, and then you have a draft excluder. So again, charity shops or free cycle, again, people would throw these out or, give them away. They always seem to be in charity shops or on free cycle, or something like free cycle. So that could help plug up any air gaps that you might have on doors or windows. So keep your eye out. It's amazing what you can find and reuse for something completely different. And the beauty is, you don't have to be a seamstress to do this. Most people can just tack that shut. It doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to be functional. And all it needs to be functional is kept closed. So, what you could even do is get a pair of tights and use the leggings on the tights and put this inside the leggings, and that will hold it closed. And there you have a draft excluder. So there's more than one way of doing this. The other thing you can do with relatively inexpensively, if you find any curtains that are maybe not quite long enough to use on the inside of a door, you could perhaps sew it onto the inside of the curtains that you already have and create a liner. Now, your curtains may already be lined. You could buy ordinary curtain liner and just hand sew it in. Again, it doesn't need to be pretty, it just needs to work. More heavy duty the curtain, the more efficient it's going to be. So that's something else you could consider. Again, looking, you don't necessarily have to go out and spend money buying curtain liners. You could go to a charity shop and just see what curtains they've got. And if you find curtains that are already lined, you could untack that material and use it. Or if they have a nice heavy duty curtain, just a single curtain without any lining on, you could, if it's a similar colour to the ones you've got in your home, you could just tack those inside your curtains for the winter and provide extra heat. If you're absolutely not willing to do any sewing at all, you could use safety pins. Easy to take on and off, and then you're not worrying about whether what your sewing skills are like. There's always more, like I say, there's always more than one way of doing something for most things, and more than one idea of covering something. So that would be my suggestion for the curtains. And now I'm going to go on to the sort of footwear you can buy. Okay, slippers. quite often thought of these days as something old people wear, not necessarily something that younger people wear inside the house, because with central heating and whatnot, it's made them fairly redundant as everyday footwear, but they still provide a purpose. So a good pair of slippers, something that's nice and warm, will help keep the rest of your body warm. Now, the thing is, with any kind of footwear, you do need a certain amount of air to circulate. So you might be tempted to put on 2 pairs of socks, but actually, if it presses your foot really tightly into your slippers or your everyday footwear, you're going to have a loss of efficiency. So if you do decide to wear 2 pairs of socks, try and keep one pair thinner than the other, and make sure that you still have air circulating between your foot and the footwear you're using. So like I said, it's again, it's old school. It may not look the nicest, but it will help. And alongside those, good footwear. Excuse the state these are in. I haven't got round to cleaning them yet this year, but these are Kamek. These are a Canadian boot, which have thin slip. I forget how low these particular ones go down to. I think these go down to -20 Celsius. I have got a pair that goes even, I think, down to 30 Celsius. And again, they're not fashionable, they're not pretty, but they do help keep your feet warm. So again, if you can get really decent footwear, then try and get something that is designed for the outdoors. And again, you don't have to go down something like the Kamek route. I just happened to be able to buy these about 4 years ago on a special offer, and I'd been eyeing them up for ages. But you can get other brands of shoes and boots that are designed for people working outdoors. You can also get heated jackets that run off power banks, similar to the ankle heater that I showed you. It's the same principle. It has a built-in heater and an off switch, and it will have your own you'll have your own battery bank that will heat up the jacket. You can buy different types, and again, what I would suggest you look for is companies that sell to outdoor workers, so sort of construction workers, farmers, equestrian workers, council workers, if you know anyone who works in any outdoor trade, they will be able to point you in the right direction, and hopefully you'll be able to get something that doesn't cost the earth. But like I said, if all else fails, something like this can just help give you a boost of heat. Another cheap power source that you could use inside the home is a heated towel rail. I have a freestanding one, just a very basic one. I think it's 100 watt. Again, that seems to be the most popular power consumption. That means it uses 100 watts per hour. Golly, yes, I've had this one must be about 10 years now. It's a very basic freestanding one. So at 100 watts. It doesn't cost a huge amount to run, but it will provide a little bit of background heat, and it will also give you somewhere to dry some clothes. Obviously, if you've got a big family, a small towel rail, freestanding towel rail isn't going to do a huge amount, but it will provide some drying capacity, as well as provide a bit of background heat that's not going to completely wreck your electricity bill. I tend to use mine during the winter when it gets really cold as a little bit of background heat. You can also buy bigger models which are more clothes era types, but again they tend to be more expensive to run because they are bigger. So you know, it's up to you on which type you go for, but again, they are around, they are available. Go for one that doesn't cost the earth to run. So if you can get it as close to 100 watt as possible, you're going to keep your running costs as low as possible. Oh, and I meant to say, along with the sleeping bags, you can sometimes get sleeping bag liners. These are generally cotton or polyester mixed, and they're designed to be an enclosed item, so you just put it straight into your sleeping bag. There's generally no zips on them. Sometimes you get them with zips or without zips. The ones I have do have zips, so I can either zip two of the same type together or just use it like a sleeping bag. And the one I have is a fleece type material. It's a bit thicker than most, and I also have a cotton sheet that is useful for providing extra, you know, just an extra layer. Again, it's self-enclosed, so it does help keep the temperatures more regulated. And if you want a little tip to help keep your feet warm inside your shoes or your boots, stick some folded kitchen foil. I haven't got any at the moment, but stick some folded kitchen foil into the sole area, and that will help reflect heat back towards your feet. You can actually buy thermal foil-backed insoles, but if you have a decent quality bit of foil that's properly folded and moulded into the sole, that will work just as well as a short-term measure. If for any reason you don't want to be continually using your kettle or electric, what you could do is, if you're at home during the day and you have the ability to use a flask, a hot water flask, you could fill that up with hot water in the morning and then use that throughout the day to make hot drinks or cup of soups or whatever. I know that it does say that the most effective way is boiling one cup in a kettle at a time, but probably if you're going to use a kettle a lot of the time, then a large flask, filling a large flask all in one go might be something that you could consider doing, and then just topping your, like I said, your hot water drinks or cup of soups or whatever up with that. So I think that's pretty much everything that I didn't show you before. You know, you can always get, I did show these on a different video, but you could get something like these rechargeable hand warmers, or you can just get the single-use hand warmers. Personally, I prefer these because as the name implies, single use is only single use, and these will double up as a battery bank, so if you do lose power, then you have the option of charging up, say, your phone or running something like this from it. So you can get double the heat. Obviously the only constraint with something like this ankle heater warmer is the length of the cord, but if you, like I said, if you've got a battery bank, then you can place it where you want. So like I say, apart from I use a thermal sleeping mat under my mattress topper during the winter. Again, I showed that in a different video where I showed you the camping poncho, and that just helps direct a little bit of heat back towards the body when you're lying in bed. I'm not sure how effective it would be on a very thick mattress, but I found on something like a mattress topper, it does the job very well. We used to take caravanning. We used to go we had a couple of old caravans we used to take to agricultural shows and horse shows with us, and that's where I got the idea, because one Easter we went to a show at Bilthwells in Wales, and it was absolutely horrendous weather. It was snowing, it was sleeting, it was below freezing. It really was terrible. Somebody's marquee, a couple of places down from us, got torn up by the wind. So that's when I got the idea, because it was cold at night. I tell you what, it was cold. So I suddenly had the idea of sticking that actually under the mattress, and it just provided that little bit of extra insulation between me and the cold wood slats that were used, that the caravan used as its bed. So, like I said, sometimes you think of these things out of necessity. So if you think of something that you would like to do to save money, try and think back on what people used to do history-wise, because quite often they had solutions to this. It's like 4-poster beds. I mean, they look very cute. They look very, very, very impressive. But actually, it was used to help keep the heat within the bed area. So if you're good at DIY, perhaps you could make your bed into a 4-poster bed, and again get the curtains from somewhere like a charity shop. Think outside the box a little sometimes, and you might surprise yourself with what ideas you can come up with. Anyway, I've waffled on enough. I hope that's given you a few ideas. If you like the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, maybe subscribing and sharing the video. It all helps, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks very much.